Well, let me ask this question since we were just talking about it. David Went asked this question. David, thank you for supporting the show. So what's the plan for when they JFK Bernie?
Which is why he needs to have a VP they hate more than they hate him.
Yes, it needs to be Tulsi or Nina Turner or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Because if he gets a centrist, my fear is if he gets a centrist VP, then he's done. They'll take him out.
Yeah.
I'm very concerned, and don't get me wrong. I think the only two choices we see right now, I'm not crazy about Barbara Lee. Some of the people she supported. I mean, I do like some of her choices when it comes to foreign policy. The only one to vote against the AUMF, but
voted against the Afghanistan war.
True. Number one choice being Tina and Tulsi.
Nina.
I always say Tina. Nina and Tulsi. I mean, those are and I'm still concerned about Nina, who she can get outside of that Democratic kind of progressive kind of bubble, whatnot. Can she reach across the aisle? The reason why I'm so sold on Tulsi is because she does get those libertarians. She's the only one who actually takes a vote away from Donald Trump and can bring it on over.
Yes, she does.
But once again, as we're going through this process, and Fiorella gives me hope that they will get closer to each other, but it's for some reason I see them drifting further apart. Certain issues, I just see it, and I'm a little scared by it.
Who, Tulsi and Bernie?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
The Russiagate issue really made the Tulsi people online go crazy.
Has Tulsi actually addressed Russiagate that much at all, really? No.
She's never one to play into that whole, you know what I'm saying? Her whole pivot has been, listen, if you're concerned about our elections, you don't have to be concerned about Russia. All we have to do is sign this bill, and we have tracking on our voting. We know we have a paper trail in general. And she's been playing that card, and I think it's the only card we should be playing. Let's secure our elections within our own country right now. It's not the people in Russia we have to worry about. It's the people within our own party, within our own country that are stealing these and engineering these elections.
I've said this, and it's just a theory, and I've been saying this for a while, that I think they're working together. That meeting they had a year ago, before they both announced, I think they went, this is the plan. It's like nobody knew who Tulsi was back then, only us in our circles. And then she's the most Googled name after all those debates. She's the one playing hardball and takes out Kamala and that other clown, that other whatever, those no-name stiffs they had early on.
Yeah.
She took a bunch of them out. And then taking out Kamala was huge because that just gave Bernie California, because that's what Kamala was all about.
Yep, that's all she was there to do.
And so Tulsi did that. And I think they're working together, and she's, that it was a gift having Hillary call her a Russian asset. That was a gift because it gave Tulsi gloves off, calling her queen of warmongers. It gave her 2 weeks of free ad time.
Absolutely.
And the Assange thing, I understand why Bernie isn't talking about it. I wish he would, of course, but I get what he's saying, because then he'll be called the Russian this and that. And I think it's one of these things, when he first gets into office, he's going to say, he's going to tell all this big stuff's going to happen. We're going to do all this and do this, and Julian's going to be
I think scary for us.
Right.
For us at this table right now, Graham. I mean, they can arrest him. They can arrest anybody. We go out. We do a lot of work on ourselves. We don't just take stuff off the wire. We see a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to election integrity. We start naming some names over here. We start exposing some people. What are they going to do? They're going to throw us in jail for whatever reason. You guys have talked to plenty of guests, when that have been thrown, actual whistleblowers that have been thrown in jail while they prop up these other people who are nothing more than intelligence fugazis leaking out information for the MSNBC and Adam Schiff to go after Donald Trump. So, I mean, I have concerns, even with the whole, what's going on in India now and Bernie's statements there. And I don't want to kind of get off course. But once again, I see Bernie Sanders, his cabinet with his foreign policy advisor, Matt Duss, and Fayez. I mean, these people, their whole ideology is totally different than when Tulsi Gabbard's, when it comes to certain regions where she takes a lot of heat. So just recently, and it's not that I wanted Bernie Sanders to pick a side. I wanted him to be more hands-off. We don't need to be involved in any country anymore. But he made a conscious decision to kind of stick by, talk about the suppression of Muslims when it comes to that situation, and not necessarily talk about the other side. Whereas if kind of Tulsi is always blamed for being pro-Hindu, pro-Modi, when I think she's taking more of a geopolitical approach, and she's even said she's open to meeting with the Pakistani leader. So, I mean, that kind of foreign policy is what's necessary. When you see Bernie kind of go that way, you're saying, well, that's kind of counteractive of what they're doing.
But it goes back to the fact that Bernie is trying to win the Democratic establishment, and the majority of the Democratic establishment sees Modi as a Hindu fascist, sees these situations as black and white when it comes to foreign policy. And Bernie's whole shtick, his whole thing, is focusing on domestic economic issues. And I'm not minimizing foreign policy because you can't separate it. But a lot of people, unfortunately, outside of our circle, and even in independent media, we're one of the few people that cover foreign policy. The majority of America isn't concerned with foreign policy because they're too busy trying to stay fed, trying to pay their rent. And so it's kind of like, if I am Bernie, what am I going to choose to focus on that I think people need healthcare, people need jobs, they need to focus on this. It's an immediate concern to them versus what's happening to Julian Assange, unfortunately, isn't really an immediate concern. They don't see those connections. And I think that's why he is focusing on it. I don't think he's going to forget about him or civil liberties. I think he's going to win and then go ahead and be like, okay, all these people, they're fine. We're gonna get them out of jail. We're gonna pardon everybody.
I hope so. I just would like a more non-interventionist kind of like standoffish approach that he is kind of taking when he calls Putin an autocrat or this person. Listen, I want you sitting down and talking to Putin. I don't want you demonizing him. I want you sitting down and talking to him to denuclearize. And who are we? What moral high ground do we have to stand on to say that Putin's a thug, he's an authoritarian, when we got NATO all on the Baltic states against him? We have zero moral high ground, even on the election thing. You once did a video about it. I think you said 81, and we've talked it. 81 countries we've got involved with their elections since 1945. We're the ones fixing elections, so I don't like that language.
And I agree, I don't like that language either, but then I also hear Bernie, like, sometimes in a debate in the same sentence say, well, yeah, but we interfere with elections too.
Right, like he just did in this past
debate.
He
did in the last election.
He just did it in this last debate. And then when he talks about climate change, he goes, look, we're going to get everybody together. Yeah. So I almost feel like the Russiagate thing is like, he's like, oh, I guess I got to say this. Yeah. That's what it feels like to me. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him because I do not like it when he pushes this Russiagate thing. I don't like it. I don't like hearing Putin's a thug. But he'll say, yeah, Putin's a thug and a dick. Let me tell you something, Mr. Putin. But then he says, but look what our CIA does. Yeah. So I feel like he's walking this fine line because the Democratic a registered voter, the primary, not us.
Yes.
Just any blue will do person. They're like, yeah, I guess Russia hacked our. They say that. They think that. They don't do the research.
They think they hacked our machines.
Yes.
They think they hacked our machines.
Yes.
And there's zero evidence of that. What they did was put memes out there. The Bernie Sanders, Jesus Christ.
We all know that. Yeah. We all know they spent, they had the head of Google in front of Congress. He said, we spent $4,700. I was like, wow, that's no match for Hillary's $1.5 billion.
Yeah.
But again, those voters that are not paying attention the way we are, those people need to hear, okay, he's not in bed with Putin. I don't like it because we talked about, look, they're going to weaponize this. Jimmy's talked about this 3 years ago. He was on Young Turks saying, if we on the left push Russiagate, you're going to weaponize it against Bernie. And that's starting to we're seeing that happen a little. But then CNN walked it back and said, oh, this intelligence briefing guy, he might have overstated it.
Exactly. Unnamed sources. Again, unnamed sources.
Yeah. So I really feel like Bernie is really playing to that any blue will do voter who's tired of Trump, who doesn't want fighting and division. If Bernie was up there being the lefty version of Trump in this round, I think those people would get turned off and go, I don't need any more of that. I've had enough of Trump. I love Bernie, but he's off the deep end, and I'm going to vote Pete or Klobuchar or Biden or Warren or somebody like that. That's because I talk to a lot of those people.
I hear you.
And that's what they say.
It's a political calculation.
Yes.
And I'm nervous about it, and I think we all agree there has to be some type of pivot coming to the general election because those libertarians are not going to vote for him unless they have somebody on that ticket that they can trust that's not going to be an interventionist type of person when it comes to their foreign policy, especially when it comes to Russia because, climate change can kill this world in 12 years. Well, nuclear holocaust can kill it in 12 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the doomsday clock is closer to midnight than it's ever been. Yep. And Donald Trump has been terrible when it comes to negotiating nuclear treaties, whatnot. He's just let them expire, the INF. So now they can put nuclear weapons on planes, on submarines, or whatever they want. And that is very, very bad. That is some troubling times.
Dude, there was an interview that I showed this. RT was the only one that covered it. And I showed the RT interview that Putin did with the European media in the spring, where he was leading up to the nuclear deal expiring. And he goes, look, And this is Putin talking, and it's showing him being like worried about. He's never depicted that way in our media.
No.
And I'm not, and people are like, oh, he's a thug. So are our presidents.
Yeah.
Obama was a fucking thug.
Absolutely.
Look what he did in Standing Rock. Hey, everybody, like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button. Even if you've done it before, YouTube is undoing that, and they're unsubscribing people. Make sure you're subscribed. Share the videos out on your social media. Support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood, rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, and come see Ron Placone and I on the road for the Progressive Comedy Tour. February, we're in Tucson and San Francisco. March, we are in Florida, Orlando, Tampa, and Miami. April, we are in Seattle and Portland, Oregon. And May, we are in Indianapolis, Detroit, and Cleveland. All my tour dates are at grahamelwood.com. We're probably coming to a city near you. Join us. You show up alone, you leave a part of a community. Boom.